Hey everybody, happy Monday. It is the 27th of May and it is time for the May FREE-PISODE for the Monday morning hang. So if you guys haven't been to one of these before, this is where I basically hang out with my patrons. We talk about the week that just finished up, the week that's to come. We get to just sort of hang out and kick off our week in a way where the sort of existential dread of another work week slash, whatever the slow apocalypse that we're living in gets slightly assuaged by talking about nonsense and the cool things we've been doing. So normally this is just a AMA sort of for my patrons, but once a month we open it up at the last Monday of every month and let everybody hang out, just see what it's like being part of the GMG community, being in the backstage, and so that my patrons can kind of torture me with all of the dance monkey dance shit that we usually do on a regular basis, and you guys get to watch in real time. So I'm going to hang out with the chat real fast, see how everybody's doing, see how everybody's weekend was. But off the top, you guys might have seen on Sunday, a Grimdark Media got posted where I go through and watch Furiosa. My buddy Mike Wolf was down here for the weekend. We hadn't gotten to hang out in a while, and one of the things we did was go see Furiosa together. So I obviously had some opinions. We did a live recording of our sort of like, we just watched for Grimdark Media on that, and then it went up yesterday. But I've promised the patrons I won't do any spoilers in the live show so that they can wait and engage with that after they've seen the movie. So in the chat, keep the spoilers to a minimum for Furiosa. No Furiosa questions. Let everybody enjoy that in their own time. Yeah, so that's the only thing to say, and it's like totally fine. It's not really like it's off topic. In the weeks to come, you guys will hear my opinion on Furiosa or get to ask me questions or whatever. But for right now, it's new in the theaters, and we'll let people enjoy it and not have to worry about accidentally hearing anything that's too crazy or spoilery going forward. So no worries, Paul. I saw your chat. I won't blow you up. So let's see what's going on in the chat itself and who is around. Oh God, Andrew, no. I just got a super chat. Andrew's just pulling out the big guns right away. This is crazy. Okay, so we got Mike Grimshaw here, Tom Kuch is here, Ryan Dunphy's here, Gizmo Mathboy's here, Ignovus is here, Space Gamer's here, Let the Chaos Begin, Captain Ferret's here, Paul Shorten says, thanks Ash. Yeah man, no spoilers, I got your back buddy. Bear Turtle is here, Terrier Halo's here, Freeloaders Unite, hello people, Matt Hitton's here, Ash the daddy of wargaming. I prefer the term zaddy of wargaming, but that's okay by me, I'll take daddy too. John Ash Smith is up to QEW, buddy. I hope you're having a great day up in Burlington. I'll be up your way later on next week. A friend of mine, she's moving to Hamilton, so she's doing a walkthrough, and I'm gonna go do the home inspection with her so that she's not by herself. So I will be in your area coming up. Captain Ferrite says he's just turned off the airbrush in time. Who else is here? Alan Udall's here. Andrew B gave me a super chat for $25.25. So you guys can all stand for your bingo cards early because Andrew B basically bought the 25-25 reference. If you don't know what that's about, you're not one of my patrons, but basically there is a short list of things I need to say. It's like an episode of You Can't Do That on Television, and Andrew just upped the ante both literally and metaphorically by doing that. And everyone's going wild in the chat right now because of it. James Kermans is here saying happy Monday, happy Nerd Friends. Happy Monday, Jim. I hope you're having a good one. And who else? I missed anybody? Dan Fox here too. Finally catching one of these when I'm not at work. Fantastic. Instead you're on a train with bad reception. I'm sorry, Dan. And Daryl Barnes is here. I support Zaddy of Wargaming. I'd buy that shirt. It better have my mug on it. Yeah, I can make that happen. Maybe we could get someone to do I could probably get one of the most talented artists I know, actually, as far as like that style goes. I could get Michelle Fullerton, who is Owen's wife, to do that like as a caricature. Maybe she's a fantastic caricature. She's the one that did the illustrations for the Tactical Awareness logo, and she's done caricatures of Owen, of me, like of all these people, and that would probably be perfect for a t-shirt. Paul Shorten says I'm painting Bug Hunter figs for 5 parsecs Bug Hunt. Fantastic. The Starblade plastics. The Stargrave plastics are fantastic. The Stargrave crew models and mercenary models and like corporate models are great. Who else is here? _333 says happy Memorial Day in the US. Happy Memorial Day to you. And John Smith says, am I going to check out Torchlight Hobbies when they reopen? I feel like a kid waiting for Christmas for them to reopen. I have not been to Torchlight in quite some time. I went to buy Infinity stuff there, and it was all in the basement, so I couldn't actually see it. So I didn't go back recently. I probably should. I didn't even know they were closed. So there's how much I know about what's going on in Burlington and Hamilton. I will definitely go by. And then Daryl Barnes says, yeah, she's just doing the Taco style. That's 100% what we'll do. So let's see what's going on in the mailbag. One of the things we do is we have a big patron questionnaire. So anybody who can't make it to the live show, or if they're just like popping in for a minute and they want to get a question asked, I do a patron mailbag that people can pile questions into, and then we take those first. And then I go back and forth with the chat. So just throw questions in the chat as they come up to you. Like, don't worry about timing, because I'll roughly know where I left off. Thanks actually to Andrew's super chat. I'll know almost exactly where I left off so that I can go back through and look at the questions. So first one is from Lenky. Not sure if you answered this one last week. Any chance of adding Helldivers to the Grimbark Media review rotation? Keep up the great work. I definitely want to do Helldivers at some point, because it's funny, because Helldivers is basically a Starship Troopers video game. It feels like it was supposed to be a video game for the whatchamacallit for 40K, and it just kind of got canceled or something, and they made it a like instead they made this other sort of like kind of off-brand version of that, and yeah, I think it fits perfectly in Grimdark Media, because it's like funny dark, you know what I mean? Like, it's full of all the themes of Grimdark Media, but it also has that like humor element, that like parody and satire element, which I think would make it perfect. So I definitely think that that's something that's on the horizon. The only downside is neither Jay nor I own a next-gen console to play Helldivers on. So, like, we'll be late to the party for sure, because we don't have any experience with it. What I could do is I could get Chris from Lords of War to come in, because he's played the shit out of that game, and have him do it, and then I could, like, back him up by doing, like, a deep dive into, like, the lore videos and, like Let's Plays and Watch It Plays and stuff like that. So there's a way we could do it early. And maybe I could just go to Chris's house and try it and play it and give my impressions. But I won't have like the hundreds of hours that Chris obviously will have in it that comes from owning a next gen like thing. Tom Kush says, how do I take my coffee? 2 milks, please. Tom's coming in to play some Infinity today, and we're going to throw down. One of the things we talked about doing in Takaware that I'm doing in my Infinity recordings right now is later on in an ITS season. One of the things I like to do is look at the new scenarios from this year and try and figure out if they have any bumpy bits, how would you retool them for the next season? Because what usually happens in ITS, which is the Infinity Tournament system, is you get like a seasonal set of of objectives, and they tend to like evolve into the next season. So if this season's new scenarios are a bit rough, they kind of get smoothed out and more playable as they go on. And a lot of like my favorite scenarios in Infinity have been through like 2 or 3 editions now, where they've just been tweaked slightly. So we did, actually, Greg was here yesterday playing Infinity with me, and we recorded Evacuation. And today I'm going to hopefully play B-Pong with Tom, heads up Tom, doing some tweaks to the scenario to try and make it a little bit more, like, just fluid. Like, there's not, like, either a big landslide or, like, no score. Evacuation, it was very hard to score. Same with Last Launch. Last Launch is, like, kind of all or nothing. The Evacuation is so order intensive. We made, like, one small tweak that made the game. We took 2 very aggressive armies and blew the shit out of each other and still had a score at the end of the game, despite the fact that like neither of us actually extracted any miniatures because we were too busy killing each other, which was a success in my mind. So I try and do that like late season, and what we'll probably do is in the TACware Discord and the GMG Patreon, we'll put up new versions, like tweaked versions of these scenarios for people to try it at home and see if they like it. Ryan D says, what are GMG office meals like? Do you do meal prep for days in advance, or just groove to get something in the microwave? So looking to eat healthier, and I'm spending time with my hobby, so just getting takeout. So I don't do takeout almost at all anymore, unless the kids are here, and then it'll be like for them, not for me. I meal prep every week, so I usually make like a giant thing of brown rice, chicken breasts, and then I'll do like back bacon, which is like a less fatty cut of basically ham. And I meal prep like breakfast burritos. I buy like a giant bag of green apples. I like my snacks to be like grabbable and take with me, so it's usually fruit, like yogurt, and that's it. So most of my meals when I'm here, like I eat breakfast after I go to the gym, I come here, I pack like a protein shake and green apples and like a banana and maybe yogurt, and then I go home. And that's it. So, and then dinner's like usually rice and chicken and stuff like that. So yeah, my usual thing is that I like to cook though. So I like to meal prep and have stuff in the fridge that's ready to rock and roll. But I eat very different when the kids are home, right? Because when the kids are home, I'm cooking for them, and I usually cook different meals for both of us. So like when they're not home, it's fruit and vegetables and like meal prep stuff, and when they're home, it's like the same, except I will occasionally eat whatever I'm making for them too, and like fit it in so I can have something interesting and not just live like a monk eating the same thing all the time, which fits my brain though. Gizmo Math Boy says, any studio updates left to do? If so, any associated videos? Yes, the last up to do, you're going to see a bunch of these over the summer, but I'm going to start for patrons doing streams for when we're recording so that they can take part in the recording process with like a top-down camera and a dice cam and stuff like that. Kind of like we've started doing for Grimdark Media, because Grimdark Media got me thinking about how I do pre-recording live with the patrons of like our chats, which they get to be part of. How can I do that for battle reports? So that's the last thing, is getting the soundstage finished. And it's not like a build the way the other ones were builds, but I'll do a walkthrough for the patrons of like what that looks like before I start doing them, so that they can see kind of how that got envisioned. Because I try things, they work and they don't work, and then I like throw away the parts I don't like, keep the parts I do like. And one of the things I did really like was doing these 2-camera like recordings for Grimdark Media, because I'm trying to figure out how to get the editing out of the way, right? How to get the multicam editing is a giant nightmare, and there's one me to do all the jobs. So getting that kind of out of the way has helped a lot with me being able to record that more often, do things like that we just watched, bring other people in, not have to be on such a schedule. I want to do the same thing for battle reports, where there's like a GMG After Dark uncut interactive version that the patrons get to watch in advance, and then kind of the more edited version with the hand cam and stuff that comes through for everybody else afterwards. And I'm excited about that. It just gives me more opportunity to do different things, and that's like, to me, that's what the point of this is the whole thing about GMG is it's a community, right? Like, we're all like-minded people that like look at the walls, right? We're like-minded people, like the same stuff, and we spend most of our time talking about the things that we like and introducing new reasons for us to hang out. And it's the vibe of GMG is like hang out in a game store with a bunch of people that all play tabletop games, and ask them, what do you think of X? What do you think of Y? Have you tried X? Have you tried Y? Get your opinions, share. Have you heard this record? Have you seen this movie? Right? Like that's kind of where we're at as far as being a community. And so me finding new ways to make that be supported by the studio itself is the mission and the goal at this point. What else we got? Jason D, I'm gonna take one more from the mailbag. I'll let the patrons fill up the mailbag some more, and I'll go back to the chat. He says, fantastic comment, thank you, or content, thank you. What equipment do you use when you're out of the GMG studio, like the game store, to do remote pods and video casts? So it's usually my Lumix. I have a Lumix 85D that I take with me. So I did that when I was remote with Jay and Chris, and then I use the same Rode Lavalier mics that I normally use for battle reports. I'll take them with me, Rode Duos. I need to sell a bunch of shit to get another set of those, because another thing I want to do with the top-down streaming and stuff like that is host a game night where I get my buddies together. Like I get my cousins and Chris and Adam maybe from Greenleaf Terrain and Jay, and we do something like play through Hero Quest again or play Betrayal House on the Hill. And if all four of us are mic'd, I have a way to port those mics through a mixing board basically into my backstage computer setup. To make that stream happen. So it means that we can all have clean audio. Like the audio will be great. Like there's a bunch of just like, how do I continue to make this work? And then we can do other streams and stuff. Even here in the front office, basically, we could do board games and stuff and have a top-down camera. So I'm trying to like incorporate that. So those are the most important pieces of gear for remotes usually, is just those Rode Duos are for the cost, they are fantastic. Like when I do book reviews, I'm usually using my Sennheiser mics, which are incredibly expensive, high-end, like professional studio grade mics. They're great. Nothing I've used so far, like value for dollar to the quality, is as good as those Rode Duos. Like those Rode Duos are fantastic. They will eventually wear out, like the batteries will start to die, and I'll have to get new sets, but if you're looking for something that's like just easy to use and super convenient, I would highly recommend those guys. And the Lumix is kind of like the Panasonic Lumix is the kind of just podcast streamer, YouTube standard 4K camera that you can use now, 'cause it does everything. It'll shoot, you can put a small rig case on it and hold it and stuff like that, or you can just shoot, like I do, 4K video here in the studio. And it's got all the usual stuff. It's got an HDMI output. It's got a nice like cold shoe or a hot shoe for putting like shotgun mics on it or whatever you need. Okay. Ooh, sorry, I'm very cold here. All right, well, T. We've got. Where is it? Where did I lose off? Okay. Jen Kerman's forced me to say it early. Yeah, everybody's still congratulating Andrew B for that. Mark Breadman's here. Corehammer's in the house. Oh my God, the Breadman. Mark Breadman is a member of Corehammer and Dungeon Punks. One of my favorite. Like when I first started doing GMG, they were my favorite thing to look at on the internet. They are a bunch of like hardcore punks. And it's funny because like so many of my friends in wargaming came out of that association with the guys in the UK from Corehammer, where we all were like mutually fans and then would have like remote kind of Corehammer meetups. So like Travis from Boston, Brinton from San Diego, and Chris Kohler from San Diego, we all kind of all gravitated towards that and then would meet each other at conventions. And we were almost like a, if there's like a biker gang version of like chapters, like remote chapters, we were kind of like remote Corehammer fan chapters. So awesome that Breadman's here. That's awesome, dude. I hope you are super well and still punking up the dungeons. Actually, it's how the Nerd Gore GMG teacher got made too, because he was Rich Sampson, who is still one of my favorite modern artists and is doing some incredible illustrations. If you need to Google Rich Sampson to check out the book illustrations he's doing like the new Lone Wolf adventure books. A bunch of really cool stuff. Dude is wildly talented, and I am so lucky that he did that GMG illustration back before he got famous, because now I'm sure he's got way too much work. There'd be no time for me at all. He did a bunch of the Corehammer t-shirts too. My Corehammer t-shirt, my original like Corehammer t-shirt, I wore so much it literally fell off my body. Like I should just cut the sleeves off it now and make it into a tank top, because it's wrecked. So super good to see you, Breadman. I hope you're doing well. John Ashley Smith says, I got a box of Stargrave Mercenaries for Tomorrow's War. That's cool. They are just great. Jim Kerman says, did you catch the new Starling Badgers game, Death Wizards? Yeah, Adam, when he was here, was telling me about it. And he said he's going to get me, as soon as they got print copies in-house, he's going to send me a print copy so I can do a review. And I'll check it out. Disgruntled Orcs back. The free show for the cheap folks. Yeah, buddy. And then Ryan Duffy says, played plenty of Helldivers. What a fun game. I've heard it's super good. And people really like it. And then Jim says, do I plan to play Warcrow on the channel? Actually, Greg, who was here yesterday, and like all my Infinity buddies, basically, we've all been talking about it already. So Greg and Chase, who are like daily or weekly gaming buddies, they're going to split the box set, and then we're going to do the Let's Play and like an expanded thing through it too. The Hegemony and the Northern Tribes both look fantastic to me, so I'll just paint both, because like that's usually what I do with a starter set. And the lift in the starter set is pretty low. Like there's not like that many models in it, so I'm very excited about the 2-player starter. Comes at a Gen Con, I think, which means hopefully CB will be in touch so I can do a Let's Play and a how to play relatively early, but we're pretty pumped for it. So I've already got my players to play through it with me. You know what I mean? I've been in the background just puppeting the people to get all that happening. And then Tom says, a man of good taste, how could I forget? That's because we both take the same coffee, which is funny. And then Jim Kerman says the Warcrow Adventures is a mini-based adventure game with an app. Yeah, so Warcrow Adventures is the Hero Questy version of it that was done by Crowdfund. The Warcrow actual like tactical miniature game is a 2-player starter set with like cardstock terrain, a gaming mat, and 2 opposing factions that's just going right to retail. So it's no need for crowdfund. Your local game store should be able to order it if they carry Infinity stuff. John Ashley Smith says you have to revisit Torchlight when they reopen in a space 3 or 4 times the previous location. They have big plans for new location, a kind of community hub with tons of game tables. Great. Well, that's awesome. They were kind of squashed into the one they were in before. And then Dalamon, Dalamon823 says, would you recommend either a range of battle mats or 2x2 modular tires for a flexible home setup? I think, so my biggest thing is if you're going to just invest in like a few battle mats, I would get neutral-ish battle mats in a range of sizes instead of like a bunch. Because honestly, 2x2 battle mats never line up quite right, and you can see the seams. I would prefer to just have like the right size. But I would say if you just had a 3x3 and a 4x4, or even just a 4x4, you can honestly just like tape off the circumference that you want to play on. Or one of the things I did was got a 4x4, went to Walmart, got a cheap tablecloth, and cut out the size of mat I wanted to put over top of it. So let's say you have a gaming surface that'll fit a 4x4 table, go get yourself a cheap tablecloth, and then just create a tablecloth. You can just hem it with the size center that you want inside that, and then put it over top of the game mat. So to me, it's easier to get like a good gaming mat that you like one bigger size one that's kind of the maximum size you're going to use, and then create a way to just mask off part of it to play the size game that you want on top of it, than it is to buy multiple gaming mats. That'd be my advice. That's what I would do. Did I see the announcement for Conflict 47? Yes, I think that's pretty expected that they're going to revisit Conflict 47, because they're already planning on revisiting or doing the 3rd edition of Bolt Action, so it makes sense that would be like a commensurate. Oh, John Ashley Smith says that Death Wizard's Vince Ventrella is doing a live launch Q&A at 3 p.m. for the game. Sweet, yeah, we'll go check out Vince's Q&A. I'm sure you can talk about it. And Mike Kramer says, using the back bacon in the wrap for my breakfast burrito? Yes, I am, yeah. I basically make like a healthier version of the Tim Hortons breakfast burrito without the like 900 calories worth of whatever that habanero sauce is in it. Because I like a breakfast burrito, so it's back bacon, eggs, and usually like some avocado or something like that wrapped up with it's like a splash of ketchup or HP sauce, whatever I feel like that day. And what's next? Barracuda says, I pretty much immediately ordered some Trilaterum after review came out. Those Tortoise Warriors. I know. So here's my favorite thing about that is Tim messaged me and Travis. We got in like a group chat. Travis like looped me into it right afterwards just to say thanks for doing the review. Apparently you guys blew up tomorrow's or the Trilaterum like website and ordered a whole bunch of shit, and Tim was super happy. So I loved that. I loved hearing that. It made Travis feel great for doing all the legwork of like the painting and stuff, and like telling me about the game and bringing that local thing to my attention. And Tim was like super flattered and kind of overwhelmed. So you guys showing up to that, like, that's what GMG is for, in my opinion, when it comes to indie games. You know what I mean? Just like finding these kind of hidden gems that are just cool and they have this like unique niche. Because there's always a game out there for everybody, and there's already everybody out there for a game, and putting those two things together is kind of the thing that brings me the most joy. So it was really good to hear on Saturday that like a bunch of you just went like, oh shit, bears in power armor. You know what I mean? Like, or like crustacean warriors, like, let's go. And that means a ton to a guy who has like his like side hustle being a game designer and making this game, and he's full on like Sean Suttering it, right, and getting miniatures and stuff sculpted too, and has his website. So like that means a lot to a guy like that, and I'm super proud of you guys and Travis for bringing it to me, and then you guys for as soon as you got excited about it, just being like, hell yeah, I'll spend $30 on a game, let's go, and jumping in. John Ashley Smith says, Tomorrow's War is a cool rule set set in your future. It was published by Amishali Games, miniature agnostic platoon size battles. Yep, I have Tomorrow's War. It's a great game. And John Smith says that Trilaterum looks like a blast. There's not enough 15 mil sci-fi games in North America. I mean, there's a bunch. There's Grunts. There's like a bunch of, you just got to dig them out. You know what I mean? Like a lot of them are con games. They're local heroes. And Bear Turtle says there's one coming out soon through Electi as well. Absolutely two. Chris Sly, Helldivers 2, never heard of it. Chris isn't allowed to say that he plays Helldivers 2 because you guys will come find him. All right, super chat from Andrew B again. I know he's gonna try and get me to say, "What's up, everybody? Remember, if you enjoy the content, please consider joining Patreon." Andrew, you're the best, man. Like I'm so bad at promoting. I'm glad my patrons are better at promoting than I am. Like this is all I do is I show you what a complete idiot I am and what kind of nonsense we get up to normally during the week. So I'm glad Andrew is better at this than I am, because without my patrons, I would be a mess. What else we got? Josh Smith says, I have a thing for lizards with lasers, yet no one makes any. The Trilaterum guys do. They make a whole dinosaur army, the Glorious Draconian Empire. And there's a bunch of them. Tobias Newman's here. Hey, Ash, what's up? I'm kit bashing a vet guardsman kill team with Cadians. Nice. That's awesome. Man, there's a bunch of, like, it's funny, because in that game, because you kind of have to have these, like, bespoke specialists and stuff like that, it's less kit bashy than I wish it was. But the vet guard kill team, the Chaos Guard kill team, the Space Marine kill teams, obviously, they're way easier to kit bash for than like some of the Eldar Orc ones, where there's like these very special weirdos, the Kroot one, you know what I mean? So I love it. I love hearing that people are still doing that because I feel like kit bashing. I was just talking about this. Oh, that's something I did this. I haven't done what I did this last week. I'll do that in a minute. But to kick that off, actually, last week I was on Build, Paint, Play with Dave Taylor and Jake Krasinski. And we were just talking about how in that time period that like all three of us were working for Workshop and, you know, like just in like the full glory of our hobby, the most cred you got was from kit bashing, right? Like if you had a completely kit bashed army versus a not completely kit bashed army and you walked into the gaming store, you had like a certain amount of like crazy, you know, sort of like geek credit because like you could see how to cut up the bits and make your own thing. Like that was kind of like the cool factor that you had. And I think this came up because I was looking at some of the paint jobs in their community and the paint jobs are just amazing. Like they're like, it's like I look behind me and I'm like, I could never win a golden demon today. Like there's just no way. Like I'm a good painter, but like I'm not like photorealistic good painter. You know what I mean? Like there's no chance of me winning a golden demon now. And Dave's like, yeah, I know. I was like, all we had going for us was we could see the things we were converting back then. And Dave and I were both excellent painters, just not. Our heart's not in the photorealism department. We look at some of the people because like Dave interacts with that on a daily basis because he runs the Art of collection of books. Like he does those books. So some of the artists he interacts with are like, it's just like, I'm just furious looking at it. I'm like, how are you this talented? Where did this come from? The internet's made a bunch of very talented people. Bear Turtle says, not 15 mil, but I think one of the OPR house armies basically has Seraphon with lasers. Sure does. Grimdark Sci-Fi or whatever it's called. And Disgruntled Work says I'm pretty keen on War Card 2. I've been reading through the core rules that they released. Yeah, the core rulebook is out now, so you can check out the core rules if you want, and actually like see like what the deal is with their like whatchamacallit, their like game mechanics and like how the game's gonna be structured. Terrier Halo says lizards with lasers. There's no Clegs in the Judge Dredd miniature game. There are definitely Clegs, but the Clegg miniatures that I remember aren't from Warlord. They're from Foundry, from the old Judge Dredd Street Violence range. And then John Ashley Smith says now the Trana from Strike Team Alpha. Oh, them too. And then Afterground says, just spent 2 days playing Dredge. I had no idea how much I needed Grimdark Cthulhu Fishing Simulator in my life. That's why it was on the game selection for Grimdark Media. Dredge is so good. It's such a weird, you don't see where it's going until it gets there. And then you're like, oh, of course this would only end as the lighthouse. Like, I just imagine Willem Dafoe piloting my boat the whole time. It's fantastic. Jez Hunt says, oi, oi, hey man. I'm glad Jez is here. And Daimon823 says, sweet, thanks for answering his question. All right, I'm going to go back to, so Ryan Duffy's the next one. I'm going to go back to the patron questionnaire, though, and take a couple more of these. Matt Bear says, I would love an episode or series on various wargame mechanics, what works and what doesn't, what you like and dislike. So that's interesting. I think, yeah. So, oh, Jesus, I'm crying. My watch got caught. I think that would work as a series if you did it basically as like a what fits what, because likes and dislikes are all individualistic. You know what I mean? Like to say something's good or bad isn't going to be true for everybody. So it would more be like, what do each of these individual mechanics offer and how does that impact the experience of the gamer and why might you want to pick those as a game designer? That's a cool idea for a series. I do have a game mechanic style, well, it's not mechanic, but it's like a game flavor series in mind for the summertime. And it's going to be the best games to play with your kids. So one of the things I'm super like keenly aware of right now is what are the on-ramps into tabletop gaming. And I'm kind of on the hunt for them right now. And having Necromolds show up, as well as a couple other things I have here in the studio, has really got me thinking about that. So those kinds of series are kind of where I'm like, when I have the almost zero free time that I have in the studio, I'm going to start doing like short-term stuff, like a 15-minute kind of video. That's a little easier to edit and is mostly me sitting like this talking, but then like overlaying pictures and things of like what to do. My plan is to get to those. And one like on game mechanic thing is like a good idea for my bucket of ideas. It's funny, when Travis left here, he's been texting me ideas for those kinds of short interactive videos because he's just better at the internet than I am. And so those are in there. Patrick says, have you thought about doing Grimdark album reviews? I'd love to hear you and Jay's opinion of 2 and T by the Fives. I would absolutely love to do that. I thought about doing music originally. The problem with doing music is you can't really... The internet's a shit place for it because the algorithm hears music. You know what I mean? And you want to like find a way to share the music without... Like they would be hard to do because you're trying to describe music without people hearing it, whereas people just need to hear the music. So... if I wrap my head around that, it is the kind of thing I'd like to do. Yeah. And it's definitely occurred to me, like, because music is definitely like a thing that I love. And I think all of us do, you know what I mean? Like, I think that all of us in the GMG community are inherently multi sort of like media when it comes to like what we like. And so and obviously if you look around here, right, like there's music everywhere. Like music is a big part of my life. So trying to figure out how to do that has definitely been on my mind. Jason D says, I'm sure you've covered this before and I missed it, but could you share a bit about the game writing and development process that works for you? So Jason, if you want to check out a great set of videos about that, check out the Inside Tabletops I do with Ivan Sorensen, because they are really in the weeds about that stuff, as well as the ones I did with Mike Hutchinson, because he and I both get into game development quite a bit. And what does and doesn't work for us. The Ivan ones in particular, he and I share a bunch of like, what would you want to do to get started? What would you want to do in the mid-range of like you've established yourself, and what would you want to do to maintain stuff? So like those three things alone, I think if it might be kind of what you're looking for. Obviously this isn't the best format for that, but that would be, I'd point anybody listening that wants to hear like my thoughts on that stuff. And to sort of round that off, it is the thing I've thought about doing as like a series of shorts, like a 15-minute, like here's my best practices, here's what works for me. But it is the kind of topic that everyone's going to be different. So because everyone's going to be different, I'm trying to make a singular video that's all inclusive for everybody is going to sound weird, because without I don't believe anything you find on the internet that's creative that starts with this is the way you do this, it works. That's someone trying to make money off you, right? That's somebody trying to give you a silver bullet, and people are always looking for a silver bullet. I think when you interact with that kind of media, what I'd want to make is more, here's a menu of things that worked for me. You need to experiment and try those menus of things to find out what works for you kind of stuff. And that's a harder type of content to make. So I'm still kind of like wrapping my head around that. All right, I'm going to take one more from the mailbag, and then we will jump back into the chat. Gene Dean says, just to see if anyone actually has heard of it, Exo Squad? That and Battletech created my love for Big Mecha, and as a wee lad in the 80s. And really, here's the big question. Why doesn't Gunpla and Hasbro actually have a game? Like, the models are insane, and they have nothing. There was several games, like tabletop-style games. Two of them never left Japan, but I saw a picture of one just recently somebody found. Actually, one of my patrons found it and sent me that picture. So if you're in the chat right now, whoever you were, because I'm completely blanking on who it was, because I think they sent it on Instagram, and so I'm like dissociating. They found the like 80s Gunpla, and it came with like little like 2-inch figures, Gundam Wing style game. It might have been Dougram even, but it was like, it looked like a hex gridded Battletech. It looked like a Japanese knockoff of Battletech, to be honest with you. And I'd never heard of it. So I would love to see what the deal is there. What's going on with this? This has got all zoomed out again. See if I can just get that back on. For some reason, my camera keeps like skitzing out and like going too far away. But I have a remote. Isn't that cool that I have a remote and I can do the thing where it like follows me? Whoa. This is so much easier to do, by the way, guys, than the other cameras where I'm like not across the table and stuff from you guys. So I'm actually next to the computer and I can read the chat and stuff too. The best part is I'm not looking at my phone. That's the thing that makes me the happiest, is not looking at my phone. So yeah, there was a couple. I did love Exo Squad as well. That was a great mecha style piece of media. All right, so back to the chat real fast. Winding up on halfway through. All right, so Ryan Dunphy says, battle mats. I got a few double-sided deep cut studio mats, picking up one that is just asphalt next month, and I'll be able to just put a city board on train on top of it. Yes. Those are the urban mats, asphalt mat, any like brown dirt style mat with like a tiny bit of scrub on it. You will find that you will get a lot of mileage out of a neutral mat and then putting things on top of it, I find. So a good neutral grass mat, I don't like too detailed a mat. As weird as it is to say, I think that detail on mat doesn't necessarily equate a quality thing, because I think the usability of a mat is a bigger deal than how many weird gizmos it is like on it. And also the more detailed it is, the more like scale specific it is as well. So if it has like junk or trash or like recognizable pieces of like skulls and stuff like that, those tend to get less use for me because they're more tied to like a certain scale and a certain genre versus something that's a little more neutral that doesn't do that. Mark Bradman, I love Nerdgore, I love GMG. Oh, Mark, you're the best. Rob Action says, who's repping for 15mm fantasy? It's true. Fantasy is very underrepresented. Sci-fi and modern and World War II are super represented in 15mm, but not a lot of fantasy stuff. 10mm, weirdly, for fantasy and ancient seems to be the scale. And I think that's because, like, the unit sizes are bigger. So they tend to go with, like, the horde mentality. If you make the guy smaller, you can have more of them on a stand. And 10mm seems more popular. Like, that's the War Master scale. Whereas 15mm, you get a little bit more detail. And for, like, a modern, smaller unit size game, that tends to be more popular. Frost001's here. Hey, man. Crownblade's here. Hey, Crownblade's back. Fantastic. The JDI's here. I've not kit bashed in 15 years. It's funny how having less pieces available from major market like players makes that less of an option. Like Paul Shorten was just talking about using the Stargrave and Frostgrave kits like extensively. They're like old GW kits. And it's funny how popular they are based on the fact that they just come with tons of pieces and bodies and stuff like that. I think North Star like really, and like other things like War Games Atlantic, they really hit on something by still having those kind of like multi-piece like bits box kits, parries even. They get used a ton. Ryan Heavy says medium and good painters unite. Absolutely. Pez is 5767 says, is there room for tabletop miniature games that don't focus on combat first? Like what would those look like? Absolutely. Movement occupation, all those old like chit and counter games can be miniature games from like the 80s and 90s where like you're occupying stuff that are building things. Think of it like a miniature style game that's more like Sim City, you know what I mean, than like where like you're dominating things economically. You can do that with miniatures. There's no reason not to. And they'd be very immersive, you know what I mean? Like a roller coaster tycoon or like a farm tycoon kind of thing that had miniatures in it would be super fun and cool to look at. Like arranging things in new and pleasing shapes that's non-combat is absolutely a thing that you could do in tabletop wargaming. Why don't they do it? No one's thought to do it yet. That's really it. Like I saw this incredible 3D Settlers of Catan board where when you flip the tiles, you had like physical like wheat, grass, brick, like things to put on the island to make the island. And it was like, you know, $1,200 this game, but it was beautiful. Says kit bashing is fun. Absolutely. Tobias Newman, I'm not much of a painter, but I will send you pics when it's done. Fantastic. John Ashley Smith says, I ordered a bunch of Epic stuff a couple times back in the 90s from GW and they offered me a job. I thought it was weird at the time. I mean, back then in the 90s, they were hiring everybody. It was a biker gang, man. They were just going to see if you're going to roll. And Jess says, you enjoyed the Build, Paint, Play episode. Awesome, man. I had so much fun doing it. I love that Dave just wanted to talk about Mad Max because that's the most Dave thing ever. His favorite Australian export is definitely still Mad Max. Dan says, I picked up the O&G starter set for Old World for every character and about half the rank and file are kit bashed. The old GW sets were great for kit bashing. Yeah, man. I mean, that was the best part of those, like, the original Brian Nelson orcs is that if you had a Brian Nelson orc, it was completely like modular with every other Brian Nelson orc in GW. So you could mix the fantasy orcs with the 40k, like they were all interchangeable and orc players had the best time for 20 years because that was the case. John Ashley says, Jim says, I watched the Build Paint Play and I didn't realize that there was an Art of Guy. I'm all in for the Sam Lenz book. He's a metal paint wizard. He definitely, Sam Lenz is, I mean, these people are just way too talented. I'm furious about the whole part of it. John says, have they reissued those Skeleton Warrior kits from the 90s? I ran through my 2 boxes for basic material. I need a restock. The best you'll get for that is the current Tomb Kings ones because they're basically like that skeleton sprue plus, but remember they're going to have all kinds of weird extra gubbins and stuff too. Ryan Duffy says, never trust someone who doesn't like music. Well, and then I don't trust them. It's that they're just dead inside. Atragon X says, I didn't realize Dredge was on the list. I know what I'm voting for next time. Terry says, I used to have a fold-out Realms of Chaos by Bolt Thrower album cover, which was nice. Yeah, it's grimdark. I have both literally in the other room is my CD of Dark Millennium by Bolt Thrower. Jez Hunt says, everything's grimdark if you're sad enough. That's right, man. Grimdark Happy Feet, also directed by George Miller. Lorcan Nichols, hey, hello, friends. Time Guy says, finally something for us freeloaders. That's it, man. I try and keep it equal and show everybody what they're missing as far as the mania that is being in the GMG community. And Tom Cruise just got excited about Exo Squad. Lurking says, I wrote a Gundam War game and it ran out of cons a few times. I mean, there's Mobile Suit Zero. That's a Gundam game. There's a million Gundam games out there in the indie sphere. And Mobile Suit Zero's been around for a long time. Or Mobile Suit Skirmish, sorry. It's been around for a long time. And there's a brick version of it too for doing it with Lego. Man, there's tons of stuff out there. Just start Googling Gundam War game and you'll find something. Gizmo Math Boy says the AI cam is charged. Yeah, I made sure it was charged this time. I just went and bought more cables. The thing I realized this time around is I'm short a mini 4K HDMI cable I have to order another one of. I'm always like one cable short, and then I have to like rearrange the room, like, or what I'm doing too much. And then it takes me, like, that's why I'm like 15 minutes late this time around, is because I'd rearranged everything for shooting the Grimdark Media with Mike for Furiosa. And then when it all got turned around, I had to like go and I had to rehook this up. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot I didn't do this right. Tobias says, I kind of like the zoom out. I don't know, man. And then Misa Miso's here and says, hey, from the UK, Ash, what are the video series plans for the next few months? Any chance of more Space Hulk? Also check out This Core's War. It's bonkers. Yeah, man, This Core's War's been around forever. It's been around for like 15, 20 years. I've checked it out when it originally came out. I should check out the new one, though. And then... any more plans for Space Hulk? Yes, I want to do 2009 Space Hulk after I do Hero Quest. I have like basically like a queue of board games. Betrayal's first because Adam just painted up the Betrayal stuff and I want to get him in with a bunch of other folks to do it when I get that's gonna be my test for the top-down camera. Then I want to collect another band of Scallywags and do the new edition of Hero Quest with everybody, because I think the top-down camera with us overlaid on it will really work for that, and like streaming it would be really good. And then yeah, I think that's the answer to your whole question. And then Mike Grimshaw says, Exo Squad's amazing and really hard to find these days. The toys, I think, did lead to lawsuits because the company had made toys originally, had a contract to make toys for the Battletech TV show. Yeah, that happens more often than not, where like someone takes what they were making and reforms it. I think that's what Helldivers 2 technically is as well. And then Museum says, lastly, how's Owen? He isn't around as much anymore. Well, he's never around now. He lives 2,000 miles away in Alberta. So he moved across the continent to the other side with Michelle, and I see him when I see him if he comes home to visit family now. That's why he's not here. So for everybody in the back, Owen's not here every week anymore because he has to get on an airplane to come here, which is why. And then Gene Dean Zero Man, Gene here. Thank God I'm not the only Exo Squad one. That's fantastic. I don't know, Andrew, stop throwing money at me, man. I'm making me embarrassed. Any chance of more Trilateral in the future? Also, hey, everyone, remember the Patreon is the best way to support this nerd so you can afford to throw a coin in the jar. Thank you, Andrew, for standing for me. Oh, my God. Yeah, Tim and I and Travis talked about it in the chat about just getting some minis to me so that I can do some more of that stuff and play a little bit more of it because it was super fun. I want to play it again. And the next time, Travis is going to come up like probably every 3 months or so, so we'll play some more of that as well. Gene Dean says, the moment where the exosuit sacrifices itself wrecked me. There's a whole bunch of that in there, yeah. Ryan Dunsey says, I've seen some battle mats with cars and stuff printed on. They're almost useless to me. Yeah, that's the reason why I haven't used my old Walking Dead All Out War ones, because they have like the interiors of buildings printed in them, and I can't really use them anymore. Lorcaneo says, Mike Grimshaw, yeah, Playmates made a toy that was basically a ripoff of the Mad Max car and Fastest Sued. Or the Mad Cat, sorry, and Fastest Sued. Everyone's talking about Playmates and Harmony Gold now. Ryan Dunphy says, I got plenty of 15 mil fantasy stuff that I ended up playing a ton of early games of Anthem of War with. Oh, that's interesting. Everyone's talking about lawsuits now. Oh my God, I'm going to just skip that though. I'll let you guys have that conversation. Sorry, Christopherson. Christopherson. That's my new favorite name on the internet. I'm going to see Furiosa tomorrow, and I plan to watch a review afterwards. I can't wait. I hope you really enjoy it. The only thing I will say about the new, if you haven't seen it yet, it's the Animatrix for Mad Max. That's what it is. If you come at it as like the Animatrix was for the Matrix, I think you'll get the most possibly out of it. I think if you have that as an expectation, that's a companion movie, I think you'll really enjoy it. Oh my God, they're still talking about toys. Space Gamer says there's a non-combat tabletop Discord where folks are actively working on miniature games that are combat focused. Amazing. Gene Dean says, can a GoPro function for the types of videos you make? So GoPros typically shoot a wide angle lens, which makes them a bit like, sorry, I just saw something that Rob posted. I'll read it in a second. A GoPro will, but it'll shoot very wide. So it's good for certain things, but because it has that like distortion of like of bending everything, because it's a wide angle lens typically, it's not a great like close-up lens. So it's a bit better if, as long as you're cropping the image. If it's shooting 4K, you can do this. You can have it crop the image and have it shoot from like the top down. It'll do a lot of good like wide angle stuff. I have a Hero 4, like an old one. I was thinking about trying to use. The only problem is getting it to charge and export at the same time, because of the way that like the stuff is like sort of laid out on it. It's hard to like get the ports to line up. You have to get the right size cables for it. But having it shoot top down in 4K and then cropping out is like a thing that I've been trying to think about doing, because it'll shoot the whole table really well, and then I can just crop in the part that I want, and you can shoot from far away too. And then Rob says, when the cameras turn off, he hits me. I love Rob so much. I hope he comes down here again soon. Rob, you suck, but you make me laugh. Rob is actively standing for me to play the new armies for Last Testament of Kings. That whole thing. He's very excited about it right now, and his local group in Toronto is gonna be working on that. Oh my god, I'm trying to dip through all of the conversations about stuff. The Battletech cartoon. Time Guy says they just dropped $200 for Space Hulk Death Angel card game with the expansions. Oh my god, I have that card game. It is impossible to play. If you can figure out how to play Death Angel, I have it in the back in boxes. I could never. The rulebook was incomprehensible to me. I bought Death Angel when Fantasy Flight came to a games day and could not figure out how to play it. It was like impossible to play. It was so rough. Oh my god. Tobias Newman just sent a super chat. Patreon sounds fun. I might check it out later. I just want to thank you, Ash, for being awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Holy shit, dude. That was, I don't know what 100 sec is, but that's insane. Anything that has three digits on it is insane to me. Wow. Thank you so much. Music says Canada's big. Canada's really big. Yeah, so that's why Owen hasn't been here in a long time. Lorcan says, weirdly, the rights to the cartoon lie with Disney because of them buying Saban, so technically Melissa Steiner Davian is a Disney princess. I don't know what the hell is happening. Andrew Monty says, what's on the turntable today? I would get up, but the camera's going to chase me around. I don't want it to do that. But I have Death Song by the Black Angels on my turntable right now, which if you like kind of like fuzzy psychedelic rock, you'd probably like the Black Angels. They did... Their big, like, one-hit kind of claim to fame song was... Oh, no, it has, like, Panda, hasn't it? Oh, Jesus Christ, it's done it again. They did an end credit song for... what's it called? For True Detective Season 1. There was an episode of True Detective Season 1 where it, like, bangs out to a Black Angels song called Young Dead Men. It's from Passover, which is, like, their second or third studio album, and it's a friggin' banger. So highly recommend the Black Angels. They're a great band. Give them a listen if you haven't. I wrote a scenario. It's funny. I wrote a scenario for Forbidden Psalm, for the first In the Footsteps of the Mad Wizard expansion for it. I wrote it for Kev, and it's based on that song. It's based on Young Dead Men. It's like a 3-act thing. Misa says, for those of you who want more grimdark, check out the indie game Fear and Hunger. It's horrific and brilliant. Made by a Finn, so you know it's crazy. Yeah, man, if it's made by a Finn, it's probably too scary for me. Greg Primer's here. Hey, Ash, thanks for the Joey Valance recommendation last time. Check out Stiff Little Fingers if you haven't already. 1970s Belfast punk bands are still going strong. They sure are. Stiff Little Fingers is fantastic. Yeah, and Rob says Conquest, Last Argument of Kings. I couldn't remember the first name for whatever because I'm dumb. Gaddis Gaming says, I love your battle reports that aren't 40k. Well, I mean, I don't know when the last time I made a 40k battle report was, so good, because all of them I think are not 40k. John Ash Smith says, that hour flew by. Thanks again. Thanks, John. We're going until 1:15 though, because I started late. Paul Shorten says, I played Death Angel once. I attempted to play Death Angel once, and it was too much. And then Lorcan Hill says, fancy running into you here, Grey Primer. I mean, that's what GMG is. It's everybody. I feel like sometimes GMG is like everyone who's still active from old miniature wargaming message boards of like the early 2000s have somehow congregated GMG. So like, shout out if you were on like the Lead Adventure forum or mini forums, or DACA, like early DACA, or the Bolter and Chainsword. It's funny, Mike Lamb, who started the Bolter and Chainsword, he and I still like message each other every now and again, mostly about music now, because he's still in Texas and I'm up here. And he's a fantastic artist, by the way. Shout out to Mike if he's ever listening to this. But he and he did all the art for Bolter and Chainsword too, so that like cool, like drippy kind of art, that like almost Mike Mignola-y kind of art. And I think about that every now and again, that like so many of the names that I see in the chat every now and again, I recognize as like screen usernames from like 2002 when we were all like using message boards and shit like that. Or Warseer, yes, right, yeah. Rob just said Warseer used to be it. I feel like 12.8, Tobias says it was 12.85 Canadian dollars. That's amazing. I'm still so impressed, man. I don't give a shit. That was awesome. That's the coolest super chat ever. It had 3 digits. And then blah, 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 blah. Everyone's just banging out about how forums were the best now. Yeah. Gaskas, if I ever want to interview you, you're here. Oh, fantastic, man. I'd definitely talk to you about that. And then blah, 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 going down a little bit more. Jim Kerman says just started reading Storm of Iron. That's a classic 40k book, actually. And then Great Primer says to Lurk and Nigel, this is the least sketchy place we've ever met. I don't know what's happening in the chat right now, but this is great. Ryan Numpy says, I once did a Dungeons & Dragons one-shot that followed the plot of the Aeolian album from Electric Castle. It was a great time. I've written several, for those of you that have the Wizards Conclave for Frostgrave, it's like a running joke that when I write stuff for my friends, I always base it on a song now. So the mini campaign that's in the Wizards Conclave that I wrote is based on the song Burial's Blade from The Sword. And I tend to put the albums up around. If I own an album and I did a song in a book, the album's in the studio here somewhere. It's almost like a scavenger hunt thing if you can figure out what album covers are on the wall where I wrote like a wargaming or a tabletop gaming thing for it. Tobias says the Swedish crowds are kind of weak. No, man, don't even trip. That was amazing. And then Andrew Ronnie says, nice, I'll add them to playlists. Yeah, definitely check out the Black Angels. They're fantastic. I'm going to jump back to the Patreon questionnaire and just finish it off. We had a couple questions left. And then I'll jump back to the chat for the wrapping this up. Brian Cran says, are you planning to bring back On the Paint Table? Just been too swamped with editing lately to get much painted. I haven't got anything painted. That's it, really. The last thing I painted was the Star Trek stuff, man. And that's I got so much painting to do. And getting the editing off my plate has basically allowed me to start working on that stuff again. So this week's actually gonna be a big painting week. Alan W says, I became obsessed with 18mm individual model skirmers, so like 612 models on 16mm bases. Super fast to make terrain. Paint, and you play on a 12 by 12 inch table. My buddy hates it, says he's a war game for ants. Is he right, or is the problem my stubby fingers and old man eyes? The problem's your friend, man. The problem's not you. Play whatever scale you want. I think it's amazing. Playing on a 1-foot board, you got a game you can play on an airplane. You can play on during a flight. Hell yeah. I think that's so cool. I don't think it's your stubby fingers and old man eyes at all. I think that's a weird, cool scale that you're playing at. And then Bearded Librarian says, kit bashing some war games, Atlantic, WW1, and Foot Knights for Trench Crusade. Same with Frostgrave. Kit bashing is my favorite part of the hobby. Hell yeah, man. I think, to me, that's really the thing. Whether or not you want to personalize stuff is a personal choice, and not personalizing stuff has made the hobby more accessible to a wider variety of people. But at the same time, if you want to individualize stuff, what kind of satisfaction do you get over that? You know what I mean? What kind of satisfaction do you get from having your own expression of your hobby in a physical format in front of you? I think that's so freaking cool. You should absolutely do that. And then going back to Jim Kerman says everything's Discord and you missed the era of forums. It's funny. I feel like forums were just more civilized. It was a more civilized weapon, more elegant weapon for a civilized time. I don't know why that is. It's just where I'm at. Prophet 89 says the only forum I was part of was a tiny forum called Waryhammer. Met a lot of lifelong friends there. Isn't that great? I don't know. That's something cool. But it's the same as this generational. It's the same as remembering ICQ and IRC chats and stuff like that. When we all sort of started first connecting on the internet, it felt very special because there weren't a lot of people maybe in real life that knew what you knew and liked what you liked. So it just felt like it was cooler that was happening maybe. I don't know. Paul Shurton says, I was totes a laugh guy in the before times. Paul, that's how we know each other. You and I both know each other from Let Adventure Forum. John Ashley Smith says, did you ever kit bash fleets for Osprey's Castles in the Sky? There's a game that really appeals to me because of the feature. No, I didn't. I was gonna use a bunch of stuff from Dystopian Wars because I have a bunch of those. Not the other Dystopian Skies. Didn't they do a flying game? I think I had some stuff for that. And then Lorcan says, for context, Ash, great primer and I are friends in real life. Well, I'm more of a well-wisher, but I don't wish him any specific form of harm. That's me and Rob, who's also in the chat. we're not actively rooting against each other. And then Caldorf says, any years for some Gaslands or Car Wars after seeing Furiosa? Not really. It doesn't. More like I'd rather play. This is not a test. You know what I mean? Like it's. I don't want to spoil it. But no, it didn't bring that up in me. I'll just say that and leave it alone. You guys are trying to get me to spoil Furiosa, but Paul, I'm resisting. No, it did not dredge that up in me. It made me think more about post-apocalyptia, less about cars. Dan Sprinkles here, super late, but here I am just in time to say goodbye. Them kids don't feed themselves. No, I know. Me too. Jim Crimmins says I have so much pain to do and feels attacked. And then John Ashley Smith says I love Gasland, the best indie game for beginners that I know. Definitely the best on-ramp game in the indie sphere, just because of like the touch point being so like open to everybody. And then Nervasis just says 6. Hey, 7. Cool. Alan, oh my God, thanks for the super chat, dude. I still use the Lead Adventure Forum. Also, I can recommend the Patreon for those live streams. Absolutely. Well, thanks, Alan. I think that the Lead Adventure Forum is still one of the best places to go to check out like what the hobby can be, because everything on the Lead Adventure Forum for the most part is being done just because, and I think that's the best part about it. Like there's no events you're chasing, there's no like chasing some kind of meta. It's just people that love putting like stuff together for war games. Gizmo Math Boy, Gasland's great. I think the GMG videos for it, but when I started watching GMG, that's awesome. I mean, they were some of the most successful videos I did at that period. Ryan Dunphy says Discords really have replaced the forums. I'm in a few and I run a few, and they're always great to talk with like-minded people. The ability to like actually voice chat with people is such a great feature of them too. Time Guys here, he says I've also decided to sell a lot of my Warhammer 40k stuff. It's getting expensive and I want to scratch build minis and train instead. I got inspired by people like Miscast and Bill making stuff. Yeah, I think that's like my thing is I always have like keeper projects and socializing projects. Socializing projects are things that I do not necessarily because I'm keen on the project itself, but because the event I'm going to or the thing I'm going to do needs that to get done. And I don't have an attachment to them afterwards, right? So like a tournament army would be that, or like we're going to plan like a team event or a narrative campaign, and those things I'll move on. And then I have keeper projects, and those keeper projects I will literally hang on to forever. It's why I still have like my second edition Raven Guard army. It's why I still have my Blood Ravens. I have my epic stuff. Like that stuff will literally never leave me. So I get that. And Rob says I'm also in the chat. I know you're in the chat, Rob. Jesus Christ. Larkanago. Everyone's now talking to each other about Necromunda. Necromunda data are excellent. Discuss, says Pez. I think it's excellent. My only problem with Necromunda right now is it's gotten very big. I think if you just curate back to like the gangs books and the rule book, you'll have a great experience, but agree on what extra stuff you're using. Cran says, I like Discord for what it is, but it's also removed some of the organic group discovery that came with the old forums. Yeah, because there's not like the thing with forums was you could dig through forums and find old posts that were super cool or like search for like cool stuff. It was like an archive in and of itself, even when they got really huge. And then Brandon Michael Javier says, when you're on the go, train to Toronto and have something to listen to. Thanks, Ash. Thanks, man. I'm glad that you're on the go to Toronto. I mean, you're going to Toronto at 1:14. I guess maybe that's actually probably the best time to commute because it's probably the deadest right now. And Time Guy says Necromunda is great. The community in my area is the best. Absolutely, you're gonna have a fantastic. And then Novas says, "Sorry for the cat's message. That was the 6. Okay, fantastic. I like that your cat messaged me. Oh, kitty. And then Discord's terrible for long form conversations though. It's more of a replacement for IRC rather than forums. I would agree with that too because it's hard to like curate collections of things that way. People just talking about Discord. John Ash Smith says, I wouldn't have known about Gaslands if it hadn't been for Ash's videos. Aw. Rob says, do you notice how you never actually see Ash play games? Just cuts from hands to his face, makes you think. Rob's truth dropping on you guys right now that I'm actually just a bunch of hamsters in a trench coat. I don't actually exist. I'm an AI construct. An anti-establishment AI construct. Gene Dean says painting conquest models is good for my failing eyesight. It's 38 millimeters kinder than 32 millimeter detail glut. Yeah. I like the new stuff look fantastic. The new miniatures, like the Northland stuff, looks really good. And Tobias is off to feed pancakes. Bye bye. Have a good one, Tobias. Well, we're just about done too. And And then everyone's talking to each other. Ryan says Ash employs hand models for the gameplay now. Okay. Well, I should probably talk about the week that was and the week that came up. So this past weekend, I got to hang with my buddy Mike, like I said earlier. We played a bunch of OPR, Age of Fantasy Skirmish, which is like an indie Mordheim. And it was super fun. He brought an army of penguins and yetis, and he fought my collection of Underworlds minis, which was a great showcase of that stuff. I have a Let's Play recorded. I'm going to do a rulebook review and then show you the Let's Play. We get tons of stuff wrong in the Let's Play, but that's okay. We went to a brewery for lunch before that, and so we were not necessarily our most sharpest. And then we played a bunch of games of that. And then on Saturday, Sean Larzaros came in, and we recorded 3 more episodes of the Mordheim Dam 25, which is going to be Cult of the Possessed against Undead. I won't spoil it, but it was great. You guys are going to love these ones. And then on Sunday, like I said, Greg came in and we recorded one of the ITS 15 punch-up videos for Evacuation. And so I got those 3 in. Today is this, and then Greg was in on Sunday. And then Tom's coming in, who was just in the chat, to do the next one, which will be B-Pong for some Infinity. Tomorrow, I think I'm hanging out with Jay, but we'll find out. And the rest of this week, I got Mike coming in on Thursday, and then I got a whole bunch of building and painting to do the rest of the week, and some editing, and then the weekends with the kids. But I'll be heading out of town and enjoying hopefully the nice weather, because it's weird and stormy right now, and hopefully it's going to clear the air so that we can have a nice weekend. And that's my time coming up. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Someone's talking about that I'm a max headroom because I'm an anti-establishment AI. Daka Flame says, I think Necromunda would be better if they cut out everything but the Ash Waste book and then added a Space Orc book. That's fair. That sounds a lot like just making Gorka Morka. And then John Ashley Smith says, I should wear a Gorilla Glove on my hand that gets filmed rolling dice. That'd be amazing. I think we're just about done. Everyone's just yelling battle penguins. Because my math says you never see Ash eat. I'll eat on camera. And then Brian Krantz says you guys are going to love it. Watch me equals watching me suffer. It's entirely possible that that's what happens. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. I had such a busy weekend. Like I was literally back to back recording this weekend. So I'm excited for when the kids come home, because when the kids come home, I edit. And I can like take a breather and like do some hobby and not be like completely overwhelmed by everything that's going on. Thanks everybody that came in and hung out with us for free. We have like 100 people watching right now, which is amazing. And to everybody that gave me a super chat, you guys are maniacs. That's out of control. And yeah, consider becoming a patron. Patreon supports everything that I do here. The Patreon has kind of shrunk in the last like 3 to 4 months, but I can completely understand that because it is a rough go out there for everybody unless you start making your own gasoline and growing your own food. We are all kind of like hurting right now, so I do appreciate each and every one of my patrons, and I appreciate each and every one of you that hangs out and watches. It helps more than you know. If you want me to battle the algorithm, because I do nothing to help myself in that regard by making content that anybody cares about except for you guys. Make sure that you like things, leave a comment. That does a huge amount to boost things in the algorithm. Just engagement does a huge amount. So like eyeballs are fantastic. Push the buttons if you can, and subscribe as well, because it just means that things are actively growing, and we get seen a little bit more than if I posted content that was just me constantly complaining about or advocating for large wargaming companies, which seems to be the thing that makes money these days. Or like, I don't know, here's the 50 things I ordered from Wish or Temu videos. I'm not ever going to make Mr. Beast videos. I'm also not ever going to shamelessly promote, because you can see that I'm terrible at that. And I'm going to try and keep standing for the little guy. So if that is something you're interested in, obviously you can join the Patreon and do this every week. There's a bunch of additional content too, like Patreon exclusive podcasts. If you like listening to the talky stuff, I upload it all as podcasts and stuff as well as inside voting for the content I make next. And in the future, there will be live streams, not just for the recording of Grimdark Media that you get to be access to early, but also battle reports and stuff on top of that. I'm considering adding more tiers to things, but Patreon's weird for that. You have to switch away from a format that I'm kind of super comfortable with, and I don't know if I want to do that just yet, but I'm still thinking about it, doing like a producer tier and stuff. So yeah, the patrons are going to get to pick the literary media that we read for June. And I'm going to be picking game media, and Jay's going to be... No, I'm picking video media, and Jay's picking game media coming up. So we have a bunch of stuff in the hopper, and that's it. So have a great week, everybody. I will see you guys all in the upcoming week for my patrons in the month of June. I hope you guys had the best time. I hope all of your paintbrushes draw straight lines and don't get forked, and that the models that you want to have come out or come back in stock, come back in stock. And until, I guess, next week, have a great one. Bye, everybody.